Hello, everyone, and welcome to our suddenly live show. Let's see here. Are you guys intentionally live? Yes. Yes, we are. Now we are.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a special episode on the newly released Liberal gun control platform that was just released this morning. So it came out, and we wanted to do a special episode that just kind of went through the facts of it, talked about some of the repercussions. Today we're going to be free of rhetoric. We're going to keep it nice and clean and stick just to the facts, but also just be realistic about what they're potentially going to do, because I think some of us predicted the assault weapon language and know the angle of why they're going this way. So I think that maybe we should just get right into it. I'm just going to pull up the gun control platform list here. I think you have this, Kelly,
Yeah,
this choose forward.
yeah.
So let's see
It's not
here.
really forward. You and I both know it's backwards. But
Well,
hey,
and I think it's targeting the wrong things. Okay, so they're talking about
yeah.
victims of gun violence. Now, 2,500, is that, that must be including suicides then?
Yeah.
Yeah, because they have to
Yes,
include that in victims of gun violence. Otherwise, that the number isn't large enough. So
that is
I
correct.
assume that's in there. They're talking about thoughts and prayers, which is kind of an American thing.
Oh,
Too many Canadians are killed or injured because criminals have chosen to use military grade assault rifles. Now, I
okay.
don't think this is true, because I think that military style assault rifles are not really in use by just members of the general
Right.
public
No, because
or
yeah.
criminals.
No,
Hmm.
they're not. Mm.
Well, and that's because they're largely expensive, and they're largely not things that criminals typically have on hand, right? I think we've seen most of our gang homicides this year, and last year, and most years even, would be used with handguns. Correct?
Most of the time it is handguns, yeah. And it's handguns that, for example, Glocks or High Points. It's basically that. It's not military grade.
Yeah, inexpensive stuff. I
But
think a lot of
that,
like one of the things I noticed with that Toronto one, for example, there was one study I was looking at today
mhm,
where 50% of the, like, real guns, not the paintball guns and that kind of thing, 50% of them
mhm.
would have been prohibited. They had very short barrels,
Right.
clearly handguns that were imported from the
They're
U.S.
not in, they're
Imported,
not imported.
smuggled
Smuggled.
from the
Let's be real
U.S.
here. Yeah, they're being brought across the border.
Hmm.
That's where most of the firearms are coming from. So when we're talking about this announcement that's been made today, it's not going to target the firearms that are coming in.
Yeah.
That's the reality. So,
Hmm.
and the military assault rifles that they're talking about AR-15s. We're not seeing,
Well, that's what they're saying. So I think,
well,
like, we've seen this in
well, the
California,
length. Yeah,
Washington, New Zealand, where they use military style or assault rifles,
right.
including the AR-15. So they
R-
make people think
right.
that that's what they're talking about, but they're actually talking about all semi-automatic rifles.
Correct. And that's what we wanted to talk about a little bit because this is going to have, if they're talking about, well, it's going to be far-reaching anyways, even if it's just quote unquote assault rifles. If it's all semi-automatic, that's going to have a huge effect. Like we were just talking about it before we went live. Uh, like 1022s, nobody's going to be, it's going to be all bolt action at a maple seed. Like,
Yeah, exactly. I'm just going to pull up an article here. You won't be able to see it,
yep,
Kelly, but the rest of the
yep,
listeners and viewers will be able to see it. So Washington put in an assault weapon ban, and with that assault weapon ban, they used again that very broad-based language on what they would consider to be an assault weapon, to
yep,
include, yeah, like you had mentioned there, everything that's semi-auto. That
right.
I believe they said detachable mag.
Meg. Right.
No, just semi-auto. Yeah, just semi-auto. So anything that's manual is not an assault rifle, but everything that is semi-auto is an assault rifle. So your
Okay.
1022s and that kind of thing would have been banned in Washington, and this was just earlier. This is just a few months ago.
Hmm.
So this is why we're very skeptical that when the liberals are talking about a semi-auto military style assault rifles like the AR-15, that they're just talking about the AR-15, because likely what they're talking about is all
All
semi-autos.
semi-automatic. Right. So
Mm-hmm.
when you look at what they put out, it says, and it does say semi-automatic military style weapons,
Mm-hmm.
like, and that's the keyword there, like the AR-15, but it doesn't say
Including,
including.
because I
Right.
think like a ban by itself doesn't say anything. It doesn't say like whether they're going to go prohib like they've done in the past where they've grandfathered. It just says they're all going to be banned, and you might wonder about the AR-15 because it's restricted, whereas these other ones were non-restricted. But
Right.
they're being very clear here that they're saying all military-style assault rifles, including the AR-15.
Right. And what they're doing is they said that they are going to start to, or what they're looking at and initiating a buyback program for those. And so I have a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
Buyback program. That means that they're using federally funded, it's a federally funded
I wasn't
program,
aware
which
that the
means
government sold me my
taxes.
rifle.
I know.
Yeah,
So
I
we're
didn't
going,
know I could get
so
a refund on it. That's kind of
hey,
neat.
Adriel, it
Uh-huh.
means that the taxes that I'm paying is going to pay you for your rifle, which you actually legally own because you paid for it with your own hard-earned cash. So
Yeah.
you're buying actually back your own rifle and you're getting it at a cut rate.
Yeah,
So they're
I'll
going
probably end up ahead on this compared to most taxpayers, but
yeah, because you like deals. But
I'm not going to be happy about that. Yeah, because
no,
they said fair market value.
market price.
They're saying they're going to
Right.
buy back. Owners will be offered fair market prices for their weapons, and they're going to do this over a 2-year period.
Right. And they also, so why don't we, do you want to go in this and go through it a little bit and discuss each point? Because we're a little bit all over the place. Do you
Yeah,
want?
I'm going point by point.
Oh, okay.
I got them in
I'm
front of me
all
here. That's what everyone else is seeing right now.
okay. Perfect.
Yeah,
I brought it up as well.
yeah. So
Um,
buyback. Hmm. 2-year buyback for all assault rifles legally purchased.
right. So they said that they're going to give law enforcement agencies the resources needed to properly implement and administer the program itself. So it looks like they're looking at whether it's municipal law enforcement agency, like for example here in Kingston, they would give the Kingston Police Force the
I
ability
think
to
I
actually
think what they'll
collect them,
give them
or
is you know that cart that they had on Monty Python where they say bring out your dead. They're gonna give them all a cart, and they're just gonna like ride it through the streets and say bring
yeah,
out your assault rifles, and you have to like go out there and just chuck it on the pile, and they just like they start counting out 20s for you.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, no. And then
probably not.
they take the asphalt, the roller. Oh man, this is going to be horrible.
Hmm.
There is a 2-year amnesty that they're going to put in place while the program is being set up. So, what exactly do you think that means?
I get like 2 years of 3 gun before it's all over. I mean, part of why we're doing a special episode today is that the Liberal Party is still in the lead for our federal election, so
Right,
this has a chance of moving forward. And the other issue
correct.
is that with a minority government, the Liberal Party may be able to curry
Push this
favor
through.
with the NDP or the Green Party to get them to support this as well.
Right. So it depends on how many seats each individual party wins.
Hmm.
So,
Hmm.
yeah. Yeah.
So yeah,
So,
all so when they say assault rifles, really the thing I'm trying to think of is okay. I assume that that's going to be semi-automatic box fed for sure.
yeah.
Semi-automatic box. So there's a couple of different variables here. Semi-auto for sure, but then add on a couple more filters. Will it only be center fire, or will rim fire be exempt? Because we've seen both cases in play.
Right.
Washington didn't allow rim fire, so your 1022s are assault weapons, and they're banned.
Yep. Yep.
And then the other issue would be box mag or detachable box mag or not. If the box mags aren't allowed, then you may see some firearms owners opting to fix their magazines in, or the Garands would still be legal kind of thing, right?
Right,
Hmm.
right. True.
But a
So
lot of
any
the
of
other stuff goes.
the other stuff goes.
Hmm.
So, yeah, so I'm also thinking that the older military style rifles, they're gone. So as you said,
Well,
the
it depends.
Garands.
They said military style rifles, but I bet my 303 is still safe. I bet you I'm going to be able to keep that. Bet you I could buy a brand new PGW sniper rifle, aka precision rifle, and I can buy
Right,
that even though it's exactly military grade hardware today.
right.
It's just the
Because
semi-autos. This is just language that they're using for this assault rifle.
right. They haven't said anything. It was interesting. I was reading through this that oh, they didn't really say anything about collectibles.
Hmm.
Did you notice that?
Yeah, they didn't really talk
Inoperable.
about. Well, this looks like it was prepped with some time. Like this is a half nice page. They didn't just prep this in a day.
No, they didn't.
Yeah. Well, we'll talk about that. We'll talk about timing in a minute here.
Okay. It was bad
Yeah.
timing.
No,
History.
this is their chosen
Well,
timing.
no, it's chosen timing, and there's reasons why. And there's chosen areas where he did this, and there's reasons why.
Hmm.
But yeah, okay.
Yeah. Uh.
Um,
All right. Well, I mean that's a huge one.
mhm.
Um, Working with provinces and territories to give municipalities the ability to further
Okay.
restrict. Hmm.
Oakville passed yesterday that they were going to ask for an assault ban, weapons ban, and also a handgun ban. So this is a municipality, correct? How is this possible? How are they going to be able to do that? They're trying to actually, this is American style firearm legislation because down in the US, it's not necessarily municipalities, there are bylaws, but what it is each individual
States
state
and
has
cities. Yep.
different laws, and so it's really hard to
Yeah, it's very confusing.
enforce,
Very
basically.
confusing. Hard to enforce. Hard to follow the law as well. You might drive over state border and all of a sudden have a firearm that's illegal. 6 ways from Sunday in one
Correct.
state, but legal in another.
Right. So it's going to that style as well. They're trying to more of the urban areas, like for example, Toronto,
Hmm.
Oakville, uh, what have you. They're trying to cater towards those. Now, that also being said, there's a lot of people who do shoot in Toronto. Look at the memberships at the clubs there.
Well,
They're
yeah. I mean, if the municipalities can ban handguns, we
mhm.
will see support for sports like IPSC or some of the other handgun sports just fall through the floor
Cool.
because
Yep.
you will have to be out in the sticks or in a more gun-friendly city in order to compete in such a sport.
Right.
So I would think that IPSC in BC and Ontario and Quebec would be
Suffer.
devastated
Yep.
with this. And as
Right.
well, if we have any Olympic shooters who shoot ISSC handgun, they won't be able to practice or do their thing. We're gonna hurt our chances of winning some sports at the Olympics because
It
they won't be able to practice or do it anymore.
right. It'll be interesting to see what they have to say about this as well.
Hmm.
Linda, yeah,
Yeah.
especially. I know that um, they did say the next point was we will protect the rights of law-abiding hunters and pledge not to bring back the long gun registry. Hunters do not use or need assault weapons.
That was interesting. You remember when they did that survey, and the survey said, "Hey, we
This is
recognize the
based on
rights."
this.
Yes, but they
It
said they
is.
recognized the rights of hunters and sports shooters before in the survey. And now
Right.
that sports shooters bit is gone. And when
Gone.
you look at the things that they're doing here, this destroys the shooting sports in Canada, right?
Right.
Even yeah, there's a lot that might be harmed. Like we're talking about semi-automatic centerfire here. That covers your Browning duck gun or
Hmm.
Beretta duck gun, right? Your semi-auto shotguns.
Yep.
those get covered when by as an assault weapon if they define assault weapon as a semi-automatic rifle.
Right. Right.
Yeah, and the fact that they pulled sports shooters off of this says that they intend on destroying the shooting sports.
Yeah.
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 Yep. What else we got here? Crimes involving firearms have been on the rise. Well, I mean, like crime overall has been on the decrease. Crimes involving firearms are at an 18-year high. Well, only if you pick the right years and you cherry pick them, then yes, then they're at a high.
Right.
Gender-based and intimate partner
2013.
violence with some partners and legislation to suspend. So, like we you can already call in a spousal safety concern with the RCMP. It's a very common thing that you can do if you want to. Require everyone importing ammunition to show proof of a valid firearms license. This wasn't a thing.
Okay. Yeah, like you already have to do that. You can buy ammo down in the US.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to import it. You have to get a license to import it. Canada wants to see that importation.
Mm-hmm.
It's Canada that is stopping it. It's not the US. And so, of course, you're going to have to show, like, I can't even go to Canadian Tire without showing my license. Are you kidding me?
Hmm.
So,
Yeah.
anyways,
What else we got? So like this
make it,
this is common though. Like they'll put a bunch of stuff in here that's kind of already law and make it seem like they're being like real
yeah,
hard and they're gonna add a bunch of
make
other
it
stuff.
harder for legal weapons to fall into the hands of criminals by further strengthening safe storage laws. What does that mean?
I mean, you catch a unsafe storage anytime anything happens. So I'm not sure. We already have like a pretty decent set of regulations around what it mean, like what you need to store a firearm
Central
in Canada.
storage? Does that mean it?
I don't think so. It seems too flippant of a minor point to be central storage.
Okay, and the next one is already done as well. Adriel,
Yeah,
you know
I
this.
mentioned I bought 5
You got
handguns at once and I got flagged and
tanked.
they asked about it. So I'm pretty sure this is the liberals pretending like a problem that was a problem 6 years ago is still a problem
Well, they have to
and they have to
actually
solve it.
they already have the program in place. They just need the manpower to do it.
And manpower, just go hire some like database guys to set
Well,
up
they
a couple algorithms and not even like I'm saying
I think
algorithms
they
like
have
it
the
sounds fancy.
algorithms. I think they need to
Put a
have
filter in.
the
If
people.
if purchases in the last 30 days is above 5, flag it for follow up. Do some police
Okay,
work.
yeah, this will ensure police can better detect straw purchasing schemes that divert legal firearms into illegal market. And like,
I don't think
I
there's been
think
a
we
lot of
looked at
straw
I think we
purchases.
looked at the studies that they did in the last couple of years, and of that, I think that there was this was part of the ATIP that was requested in
Hmm.
in Toronto, and I think that of that there was 20 firearms. I'll have to get the exact amount, but
Well,
they
it
had
depends on the
recovered.
year, right? Like on
Yep,
some years, they'll bust some guy who did 20 of them, right? And they'll just do it. That's like one person, right? They got one guy who was desperate and was doing this, and they'll catch it, and the number will be 20. But
right.
this is so rare of an occurrence that they
They
publicize
they're not
every single
tracking it.
time it happens.
Also, they're not tracking it as well. There's no statistics on it,
Mm.
really.
Hmm. Well, I mean, it's a very risky way of a criminal acquiring a firearm. I mean, it's you've
Right,
someone's name is attached to that serial number, and they will get in trouble if that serial number shows up where it shouldn't be.
right.
So yeah, it's a moot point on that one. Limit the glorification of violence by creating
I want to talk
regulations.
about this.
Oh, what?
So it means that you and I can't podcast. It's creating regulations on the impact the way firearms are advertised. Oh, shoot, sorry.
That's okay. I can keep going here. Marketed and sold in Canada. It's kind of hard to say what that would be though, because like there's not a lot of like big gun sale ads
So what is
in Canada.
so what does that mean? Like, can we have like TACCOM
I'd like to
advertise
see
for
them
it?
try to shut something like that down, but I'd imagine this would be like a toothless advertising regulation for TV and radio and that kind of thing. Where I
Okay.
mean, no one, no, I don't think like Remington is out like advertising on the radio or TV. I don't watch enough TV
No,
to know.
no, it's
Um,
not. And YouTube as well, right? They're removing
YouTube's
the ads
already
from that.
regulated
So,
and restricted, so there's no
but does
risk
this
there.
mean that we're not going to be able to have movies like John Wick or,
No, that's couldn't possibly.
I know,
Yeah.
right?
So I think this is a
So,
toothless ad thing. Like keep in like C71 was largely the same as this. Like there was a couple of measures in there where it's like, okay, that's real, that's real. This already happens and is not a real thing. This is not a real thing. And I think that's what we're seeing here. I think we're seeing the stuff on the left is real, the stuff on the right is more feel good, wasn't real, or was already in common practice, and now they're just gonna, put a dot on it, kind of a thing, right?
right.
Hmm.
Yeah. So,
So what are the
um,
repercussions? We're talking a little bit about this. Handgun ban's probably gonna like really hurt IPSC and that kind of thing. Assault weapons ban. Well, I've got my 3-gun shirt on here, and I can't shoot 3-gun without a centerfire rifle.
nope.
it's I get you'd be like um, maybe I'd go to Milsurp. Maybe I'd run like a Mauser or something like that for 3-gun. But yeah, I guess I still could. I'm still in a city that's not going to have a handgun ban,
No.
so it's not a risk for me
Uh,
personally, but it is a risk for many Canadians that wouldn't be able to. That's unfortunate. Mm.
um, yeah. I don't know what it means just because everything is so, we're not quite sure, like, what's going to be allowed, what's not going to be allowed. Um,
Well,
who makes this,
fairly
who makes this
certainly,
decision?
if they're saying military style semi-auto, that means that some form like that language will not be in the bill. There has not been a bill in place that says military style at all because you can't define it, right? Um, an example
Right.
would be, oop, try not to knock that over. My WK 180. This is
Hmm.
a consumer product. No military is using this, but this will be included in the bill, and they will include some form of box, magazine, fed,
Yep.
semi-auto rifle, centerfire rifle. That would be the most restrictive, smallest focus. I'd imagine, and this is
I
hedging
don't
my
think
bets
it's,
that it's going to
yeah,
be bigger than that, and they
it
may
is.
include box mag in that. Sorry, not box mag, and they may not even care centerfire or not. So it's going to be a
Okay.
lot of guns, a lot of guns, a lot of sports are
So,
would be destroyed with this.
right, if it's a lot of guns,
Mm-hmm.
again, where are we getting the money for this?
Yeah, I think one of well, I mean, from
I know
you
that,
and I,
yeah.
we're gonna come out
What do
ahead though.
you,
It's mostly gonna be everyone else that's gonna be paying for all this stuff.
yeah.
Yeah.
Where is this
Uh,
money coming from? Because, like, does the Joe public know this? Do they know that it's going to cost? So if you look at how many AR-15, let's just do AR-15s, okay? So if we're doing AR-15s, how many of them are in Canada? How
well,
many have been sold? By the way, there's been a shit ton sold in the last little bit.
yeah,
So,
yeah. It jumped up by thousands here in recent months. So we've been seeing a lot more of those. I saw an estimate that said 75,000 of those. So that's like if ballpark them at $1,000 each, which is
yep.
low, that would be
Hmm.
about $75 million to buy
Okay.
all those.
So again, when we're talking about voting, getting out and voting and talking to people and different things like that, the public who doesn't know anything needs to know this piece. They need to know that it's going to cost, just even for the AR-15s, $75 million, and that money is coming from their pocket.
That's the small number too, because like a
Yeah,
lot of people don't like having restricted firearms, and they would rather have a Tavor or a WK or something like that.
right.
So I think
Which
there's going to be a lot more of those style rifles in the country.
that is huge. So they need to, so if the Liberal government is thinking about implementing this, then we need to actually, as I said, let people know this is what it's going to cost you. Are you ready for this?
Remember that the long run registry was supposed to be $50 million or revenue neutral, and it was a billion or two.
Yeah.
Are
And
you
it
okay with
failed.
that? Are you okay? And it
And now
failed,
they're
and it
not
didn't.
implementing it.
Yeah,
See,
it
right
didn't
here,
really
they
do
said it
any.
didn't work.
Yeah, it didn't really work,
Yeah.
and yet we're doing it. We're doing more, and it's going to cost billions more. Do you want to spend billions more if it doesn't work? Taking people's property from them, confiscating
Right.
it.
Exactly.
Yeah. So
Okay.
let's talk a little bit about the timing, about why they
Sure.
chose to do this. So they've been building up to this. They did their
We knew it was coming.
consultations and their survey.
Yep.
That survey had 5 of 6. What was the number? So they had 130,000 submissions on that survey. It was 3 out of 4 or 4 out of 5 submissions said that we should not do anything else to further limit handguns and assault weapons.
Correct.
So I guess they don't care. And they also did consultations, and everything I heard from those said like, yeah, we got to do all this stuff about like gangs and like trying to like get to the bottom of this gang issue, and that's how we're going to solve this. And the response, do you see anything in this about gangs and how they're going to stop
No,
gangs
there's nothing.
from? I didn't. No, I
No.
don't. No.
The
No.
only thing
Hmm.
about it is not gangs, it's illegal firearms, and they're going to restrict it by
How are they going to
basically
restrict the illegal firearms?
they're not. They're going to actually make
Yeah,
it harder for, let me go back and just
law abiding.
make it harder for legal weapons to fall into the hands of criminals. That's
Hmm.
what they said
Hmm.
by imposing further strengthening the safe storage laws.
Hmm.
That's how they're going to do it.
Hmm. So
So
yeah, huh?
those that come and see me, they're not getting their firearms. By the way, they're not rifles. They are pistols, and these pistols are not coming from legal firearm owners. They're getting smuggled in. So you know what? What we see right here is not going to do diddly squat for
Hmm.
what it's intended, but it is going to cost me and you a lot of money. So,
And the okay, so let's say this happens over a 2 year period.
okay.
What's going to happen is everyone who owned a handgun in Toronto, Vancouver, Victoria, Montreal,
Well, we're cutting off
they're
Vancouver, we're cutting off Montreal, and we're building a bubble around Toronto. So we're good. Everybody else, we're good, by the way.
no, everyone else is gonna those all those big cities are gonna ban handguns. Secondary markets. I'm in Edmonton. I'm gonna get access to all sorts of cheap handguns because all those guys in those cities are gonna try selling them, right?
Right. Yeah,
Now,
they are.
what's that going to do? Now that's going to happen, and the other thing that's going to happen is all the semi-auto rifles are going to be gone. What's that?
Right.
What's going to happen to our gun
Well,
stores in
right, Brian
Canada?
Rance. There's some comments that are on the feed. They're not showing up obviously on the video feed, so I'm going
Hmm.
to, I'll, so Brian Rance. Hi, Brian. He's from Winnipeg, by the way. Tons of gun stores will close. Hunters buying a box of 308 and a box of birdshot once a year don't keep the heat on. Cases 9mm and 5.56 do. He's absolutely right. What's going to happen is so all of those gun stores in those areas will absolutely close.
Hmm.
Uh, there's a lot of income that is generated for different municipalities. I know for Kingston, we did a little bit of a study when we were talking about when the city council was thinking about doing the whole vote on a handgun ban and pushing for the assault weapon ban. Guess what? They got it. Anyways, when we were looking at that, we were talking about how much FRPC, which is my local club, as well as
Hmm.
Napanee and also CFB Kingston. So all of the IPSC matches, the three gun matches, the well, we don't have a lot of three gun, but anyways, we had the nationals here for the skeet and trap. So all of that is going to impact
Hmm.
things here in Kingston, like our revenue
Hmm.
here from the entertainment industry and just the tourism.
Yeah,
But
big
we also see stores like SFRC is going to be impacted. Yeah, everybody is going.
True
So
North Arms.
True
They
North Arms.
practically the only stuff they sell is AR stuff.
I know.
Yeah.
Oh God.
So yeah, it's really going to hurt. Really going to hurt those customers and employees as well. Really hurt the industry. Now let's talk a little bit about why they chose to. We were talking about the consultations and the survey that they put out there.
Right. Let's go back.
Now I think the interesting thing is the timing on this. That sheet that we were showing, that's been done for a while. That's a
It
nicely
has.
laid up one
Yeah.
pager. They chose to do this today, and I think that, like, just looking at how they chose to do it today, I think this was a rush job. No,
I think,
sorry, go ahead.
yeah, I do believe they were thinking about doing it closer to the actual election date, but there
I
seems to be
think
a
they were
little bit
waiting.
of
I think they were waiting for a tragedy to run this on. I think they
yeah.
were waiting for a mass shooting or a shooting with an
Hey,
assault rifle
I don't
to
hear
to actually drop this out, because that's what they do, right? They drop these policies around something. Now nothing's happened, knock on wood. So they didn't have a great tragedy to run on, and then this brown blackface thing happened, this international gaffe for Trudeau, and I think they're just like, oh, we need to do something. Launch the gun control policy, try to get the heat off, and well, we don't have a tragedy to talk about. Well, let's do it on the Toronto Danforth shooting. Let's do that. But the problem is that
so.
shooting was with an illegal handgun, and
It was.
they're talking about assault rifles and like banning assault rifles to like cut down on crime. But it's like this guy had an illegal handgun, which you can't stop, and now now what's the big like so like that disconnect and just the timing around the gaff that they had recently here. I think that this is all a rush job to try to get the stress off and try to distract. And hey, Trevor, how's it going?
I added them.
Hey
Sweet.
guys.
You're wearing the wrong hat, by the way.
Well,
You
that's
know
gonna
what,
get banned too.
Kelly? I apologize. It was this or my bald ass head. There was no other hat in the man cave.
Don't you have make Trudeau a drama
Drama
Yeah,
teacher
I
again?
do. I do, but it was all the way downstairs. I was like, I'm late enough as it is.
I don't think
So,
he'd get that job. I think they'd do a background check these days, and they'd be like, "Ooh, we found some bad stuff. We don't want you anywhere near our kids."
well,
Yeah.
the picture of him at that party, right? Somebody who knows him from back in the day said to reporters should be asking him why he left that job.
Hmm.
I don't know what they're trying to
Hmm.
imply or what other dirt they want to dig up, but anyway.
Yeah, we were just
Um,
talking about how this is likely a distraction job. The timing on this, they're always going to release this platform, but the
Oh yeah,
yes,
timing of
we
when
knew it
and
was coming.
how,
yes, yes.
yeah,
This is absolutely a distraction. Um, I don't know. Now, just before the brown face thing happened,
hmm
I was hearing that the conservatives were planning their own social media blitz. Um, and it was just a question of who's going to strike first. So, but didn't the brown face thing come out from Time magazine?
correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think
So,
the conservatives had that. I think Time Magazine paid someone buku bucks for that because it's a
yeah,
big story,
I
and
think they
they made
just
their money.
dropped that one on their own.
Yeah, I don't think the conservatives had that. If they had it, they would have released it themselves, or they would have coordinated something. Time Magazine releasing it was good timing for them.
Absolutely. They did the conservatives a huge favor. Now, I think, tell me what you think of this. I think the liberals are naive to run on a gun control platform because, frankly, the evidence to support the need for this is not there. There's only one city in Canada, and we know that the residents of that city like to claim that they are the center of the universe, or at least the rest of us think that they think they're the center of the universe.
There's other
Other
cities that are interested in this as well, though.
Uh-huh.
Right, Kelly, but
Yeah.
no one else has the gun violence that Toronto has, and Toronto can't.
Montreal is pretty close,
Toronto,
and so is
like
Vancouver.
per capita, Toronto's not that
Mhm.
bad.
Yeah.
Well, this is what I'm trying to get at, Adriel. Okay, let's say Kelly, Toronto and Vancouver and Montreal have some gun
And
violence.
Calgary.
Okay,
We're Calgary
oh,
too.
sure. It's still, it's still. I don't think an issue that the rest of the country cares enough about to have them put all their eggs in one basket. Now, unless he just thinks that if he wins in Toronto, he wins the country.
No.
Montreal wants the right to ban guns.
Hmm.
Toronto wants the right to ban guns,
Hmm.
but he's
Victoria.
campaigning on a gun control platform, and I don't know that the rest of Canada is that concerned
Mm.
that this would work.
But that
Like,
you're thinking about it like, okay, let's take some city that doesn't care, Edmonton or Calgary.
yep,
He loses no votes by doing this.
Yeah, because he's
right.
not going. He's
He wasn't going to get any votes in
Edmonton.
Edmonton or
He's not going to
Calgary
get that
anyways.
anyone anyways.
Well, okay, let me run this by you then.
Right.
He already had Toronto,
He did.
so he didn't need to do this to get Toronto. So this doesn't convert Edmonton or Calgary. This doesn't
Correct.
sway people over to his side. So I think it's an ineffective strategy ultimately.
Well, I mean, like this platform idea, this gun ban idea, the Liberal Party has used this several times in federal platforms. Since the early 2000s. I remember a couple of them where one guy ran on a handgun ban, another one ran on all semi-auto bans, and that was two federal elections that they ran on independently with this kind of gun control stuff. So the last one, they didn't run on anything substantive. They ran on, we're gonna like tighten some loopholes and do a bunch of nonsense, and we got C-71 nonsense. But now that they're feeling like they can maybe win the next one, now they're putting out the thing that is religion in the Liberal Party, which is gun control. That is
Yeah.
their religion. They doesn't matter if it works or not. They're gonna get it through.
Yeah, and we know that it doesn't work.
I think it's going to
The
hurt their election chances. Like
So
their
do I.
rural areas, they get
Are
dinged
not going to.
every
Yeah.
time they do this, and they
Well, that's
don't
what I'm saying.
learn.
A lot of the rural areas, except for the numpties here in northern New Brunswick, don't vote Liberal anyway. So you're not going to sway the you're not going to win the rural. You weren't going to win the rural voters anyway. You're certainly not going to win them now that you're pissing off the duck hunters. Um, and you're not going to lose Toronto. Toronto is not
Well,
going.
you're going to lose some votes because you painted your face black. Okay.
I don't think he's going to lose any votes for that because
I,
ultimately, you can say what you want. The man is not racist. That photo was taken at a time and a context when that wasn't a big deal. And you don't do it today, but there's a lot of things we don't do today that we did in the 50s. Okay? And in the 50s, they were acceptable. It was a themed party. He went in costume. It
is
doesn't
it?
make him a racist.
No, it
It's
makes
It
him an
all.
was it,
idiot.
it was
You're
a
right, Kelly.
tasteless,
He's an
stupid
idiot.
thing for the son of a PM to do.
You're absolutely
Like if
right.
if one
And
of us
and
did
and then
that, and
Prince William went to a party dressed as a Nazi and he caught shit
It
for it.
was Harry,
yeah,
but
Whatever. I
anyway.
don't. Thank you, Kelly. I knew I had a 50-50 chance, but my point is, he's not a Nazi, is he? He
No, but
dressed as
it's in
something that was
bad taste,
insensitive.
and
It's
it's
in bad
but
taste.
it
hey,
would be
if
it would
it
be
was if
hypocritical.
it was somebody else who was not him, that was maybe a liberal candidate, they would have been out on their ass, and you know that.
Yes,
I do know that, but I'm saying this is not going to hurt the man. It's not going to hurt him. The left don't eat their own. We don't like him anyway. This is a moot point. This whole brown face thing was fun for an hour, but it's already over and done with. He's not stepping down over it. His party's not firing him over it. The
No,
left don't eat their own. No one cares that he did this ultimately. We got a little bit of some mileage out of it. We got some funny memes for the afternoon. It Canada doesn't care enough
they do.
for
We
this to affect
right.
them.
But they do care about a few other things because I'm on the CBC morning news where they announced some things and they wanted to know what they wanted to see in a prime minister and what is most important to them. Everything that's on here must be everybody that's listening to CBC or tweets with CBC is saying they want to know about the environment or the economy. Those are the top two things they're concerned about. No gun mentioned anywhere.
Right.
And the most important quality in a leader is honesty, integrity, and actually answering the questions.
Yes, which he never does. These are the things that
Right.
are going to hurt him.
hmm
And Kelly, I caught you guys a while ago when I was loading mags. You were talking about the fact that um, what the fence sitters need to understand about this may backfire. The whole gun control thing may backfire. The CCFR needs to get out in front of this and make Canada aware just how much of their money
It's
he
going
wants to
towards this.
spend to
Yeah.
take our lawful property.
Right.
And that'll backfire. 'Cause
The other thing is, he's not telling us, this is not spelled exactly what it is. He says he'll tell us later how much it's going to cost us. So
Typical
if they
political answer, right?
right. So if they get into office, here's what it's going to cost us. If they don't get into office, then it's not going to cost anything, obviously. However, they're not going to tell us up front that it's going to cost us $10 billion to do all of this, because people who are not
Political
even
suicide.
right, they're going, you got to be kidding me, right?
Yeah.
Where's this $10 million or $10
That's
billion
why
coming from?
we have to be the ones to tell the
Right.
public. Because you're right, 100%. Political suicide, if he comes out with actual numbers and says what this is going to cost, he's just saying, elect me, and then we'll figure it out. Then I'll take their guns, right?
Mhm.
I don't understand. This is getting so frustrating. They always want our guns, and we're not the ones that are the problem. And why does the public stand for it? Why does the public allow him to get up there and just bold-faced lie to them? The average fence sitter who's not a gun owner doesn't realize how many lies he literally tells when he gets up and says about all the things that conservatives are going to do. He would have them believe that we're all going to be carrying Glock 19s and owning M19s.
Yep.
Nuclear weapons. Nuclear
Yeah,
weapons, I think.
I mean, it's almost that bad, Adriel. He's lying to Canada. He's saying, oh my God, if you elect the Conservatives, your neighbors are going to be carrying guns. They're going to have assault weapons. Look, there are shootings. The shootings are happening with illegal guns. Address the root crime of cause. Stop the flow of illegal guns. That's where you need to put your energy. But instead, that's too much effort. I'll give you an analogy. I'm a school teacher. You all know that. One of my students throws an eraser. I don't know who did it, so I keep the entire class in.
Mm-hmm.
Punishing those who didn't.
Hi, everybody. We're back.
They're not back yet.
Adriel broke the internet.
He was swiping right, and
Yeah.
there. Oh, I see a desktop Windows thing. Windows is outside of house. Oh God, I love Cracky.
Trevor,
I see Katuro and Fun.
We covered a lot of stuff. Is there anything that you wanted to kind of chime in on?
No, Adriel, I think I I got off my chest what I wanted to get off my chest.
You feel
About
better now?
no, I
No,
don't. I'm
not
very
really.
disgusted.
Yeah.
I'm very disgusted. It's
Mhm.
there are times where I want to say F it, sell it all, and go back to one of my other hobbies. It's just not worth it. I mean, it's worth it.
That's
It's
what
my
they'd like you to
property.
do.
That's
Right.
right, and that's why I never do it. That's why I always pull up my socks and keep on keeping on. I've never been more aware of politics in my entire 44 years as I am now that I'm a gun owner. There was a time when I was ignorant. Ignorance was bliss. I did not follow politics. I couldn't tell you who was left and who was right. It was pathetic how little I knew about politics. And I meet these people now, and I try to have conversations with them, and they're as ignorant as I used to be. And then I think to myself, wow, this is so frightening. How could you not be aware of what's going on? And the people that you elect who are running your country, and they're just like, I don't even vote anymore. It's
Mhm.
and part of me likes it better when I was ignorant and didn't
Mm.
understand,
And didn't have
because
to care
it's like
and get frustrated.
yeah, man,
Yeah.
it's like an added stress in my life that I don't need or want. It really is stressful to think that I'm surrounded by 55
Oh, yeah.
firearms.
I opened my safe. I was actually going to pull them all upstairs or try to take a picture, but there's too many to put on the floor. And I was looking at it, and it's like, okay, how many of these get banned with assault weapon, centerfire, semi-automatic centerfire, box fed? Well, all these. And how many if it's centerfire without the box fed? Well, all of these. And how many just centerfire? Well, like almost all of them. I get to keep like
one.
3.
I have one.
So
It's a lot.
what was that criteria again?
like that. So the things that I'm going off of are how assault weapons have been defined by other
Oh, I
states or
got you.
countries. Center fire, semi-auto, center fire, box fed is one of the definitions. Sometimes they say capable of accepting a large capacity magazine. Sometimes they don't. And the other one is you just remove some of those filters. You remove off the box fed or you remove off the center fire. If there's no center fire and it's just semi-auto, your 1022s go. If
Yep.
it's no box, if it's box fed center fire, sorry, box fed semi-auto, then a lot of these you end up getting a bunch of these different ones taken out. I think that like Washington just did semi-auto, and they would have banned like over like how many? What is as a percentage? How many of the firearms is that? Half. Think of how many SKSs there are in the country.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Not enough.
not enough. It's a lot. Yeah, so it's a lot. I was hoping to get some listeners in if we could to kind of
Yeah.
join
Yeah.
us and just keep if you guys are joining though, like keep the rhetoric down. We're just taking this like from a calm approach.
We will hang up on you.
Yeah.
Try.
Who would like to join us? I've asked a newbie, so I'm just gonna.
Oh, Freshnet Crane, get Jeremy on here, man. Jeremy, all
think-
joking aside, he is a very intelligent, well-spoken individual, and I would love to
Well,
hear what he
he
has
was
to say
on
about
last
this.
night. Let's see Culver's.
How do we add him?
Let's just add them to the Facebook call. There should be like a plus on there somewhere.
Oh, I see it.
Uh,
Add
Okay.
to group.
Jeremy.
No, it's Freshnet Crane. I got to kill.
Okay.
I hit ring. I don't know what happens next.
So just to be oh, there we go.
There he
Great
is.
success.
Hi, Jeremy.
Jeremy,
going?
good, buddy. Thanks for picking up the call. We want to hear what you think about today's announcement. Oh my God, look at the mounts. I love your
Oh,
racks.
wait, we're gonna come around here. A fish. We got a buffalo back there. It's a bighorn.
Are you home or are you dad's?
I'm at home.
This is yours?
Yeah.
I didn't know you had death everywhere. I should have known though.
Oh,
I
I revel
apologize
in
for
it.
that.
As a gun owner, is there anything else to revel in, right?
Right. Okay. All right. Sorry. Enough of the taxidermy. Jeremy, thoughts and opinions.
Well, I got to say that part of me is horrified about what it means that, like, sort of the political norm has become in our country. But I have to remind myself that this is one party in an election that they have not won yet, and it's not quite time to lose our cool. This is the time to rally. I remember when I would have been in my teenage years, anyways. We went to the rally for Bill C-68 on the Hill, and there were my dad was a sniper in the military, and he had friends that were doing Overwatch, and by their count there was just shy of 20,000 people. And after the rally on CBC on the drive home, because he'd taken us out of school to go there, on the drive home we listened to the radio and they said there were over 1,500 people at the rally. And we got to remember that the government's going to use all the tools they have. I mean, meaning the liberal government, they're going to use all the tools they have to downplay the power that we have as Lagos, right?
Yeah.
And this is the time for us to rally because there are enough of us to make a difference, especially if you include people who we know. My wife's perfect example. My wife, she grew up in a household of civil servants. Her mom was one of the general managers of Ottawa, one of the first female general managers of the city of Ottawa, and her father was a very, very liberal ADM for the government as well. They weren't allowed to pretend to play guns in the household or anything. And since we've been together 16 years now. She's lived in a household where there are more controls and safeties on our firearms in our house than anything she'd ever imagined. It's part of our daily life.
Yep.
Like an understanding of safety and the proper use of firearms is it's part of growing up here. It's part of my son's 6 now. He already knows he knows trigger discipline, and she understands that we are not the problem, and more so than that, guns are not the problem. The problem is criminals. The problem is gangs and guns. The problem is a society where people feel that they're desperate enough to survive. They have to resort to things like selling drugs or stealing and stuff. And more so, what she's learned is that like she was a person she was a believer in Trudeau before Trudeau, and she's come around because she's learned that if you follow the smoke and mirrors, there's no changes in the actual in the crime or anything else. I mean, when you put your resources into uh, what's called when you put your resources into virtue signaling and making it look like you're trying to make a difference rather than making a difference where it will actually count. I mean, there's no resources left for the things that will actually change. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
the reason they come after law-abiding gun owners is that we're law-abiding. And I mean, at a certain point, we have to make them understand that we're not going to stand up for that. And I don't mean in like you can never take our guns away. I mean in like we demand as citizens to live in a society that they put the resources in a place that will actually make us safe, not
Yeah.
in a place that will make them look good on the international stage. I mean,
Well, absolutely. I agree with you 100%.
And not
Like,
just say New Zealand did it, so we're going to do it too.
oh yeah, that's just it, right? I mean, Trudeau, he was the leader of the social justice warriors, right? And now
Yep.
there's like some people that have stepped up and made a bigger difference. And I mean, you have people that have never committed a crime who are now being criminalized because of someone from a different country that came to their country and did something horrible. I mean, it's unacceptable.
well, I'm
It's
gonna
not something.
well, I'm gonna just reference something that happened in Kingston, Ontario last week. There was somebody who was somebody who was desperate, and he used a knife to kill a person. He killed himself.
Yeah.
So, but he also stabbed a 85-year-old man as well, the second victim. So this is not going to actually solve any of that piece there. Those people weren't able to protect themselves. The police, they did a fantastic job, by the way. I'm not saying they didn't, but with respect to violence, it's still going to happen, and unfortunately, it does happen. And this is not going to fix anything. It's not going to fix what.
That's right.
It's not going to
And
fix anything.
it's not just the liberals either. I was in a passionate discussion with a friend of mine who is a Green Party supporter, and
Oh, I read
Elizabeth,
that yesterday.
yeah, Elizabeth May put out her solution to the gun problem, which is actually the status quo. All she did was quote what things already are, and I think the bigger problem is the lack of education among non-law-abiding gun owners, non-gun people, because she had no idea that you already are required by law to have your guns under lock, and if it's a handgun, to also have it under trigger lock or in a vault or in a device designed to keep guns safe,
Mm-hmm.
and that we're under already. Well, I got to decline the call. We're daily checks already. We've had to go mental health screening at all times. And what's most important about gun owners, especially sport shooters, is that I think we vet ourselves better than anyone else. I
Absolutely.
mean, when you know someone, a firearms owner, and you can see that they're not someone that should own firearms. I mean, we're the first people
We're on
to
the
see
phone.
that, and we're the front.
Yeah.
That's right. I mean, you see all the time about the mini stings where people try to buy, like the people being the RCMP or the authorities try to buy guns illegally by saying they don't have a license. Oh, we'll pay anything, we'll pay double. I mean, that stuff does not work with us. I mean, we're the first people because we understand better than anyone else the dangers of
impact.
firearm. You know,
Yeah.
I've often joked with people. People say, well, you know, if you have a gun and you lose your cool, I mean, you're the most dangerous person around. I mean, you guys are the danger. I tell you, there's been thousands of people in this country that have been saved from being punched in the face because I would never risk my firearms rights for something as simple as an argument, you know? Whereas you look at like the punk kids who have no idea of what it is to be a firearm owner, to have that responsibility, they're the ones that are doing drugs, buying drugs, selling drugs, getting in fucking violent confrontations downtown. Excuse my language.
There you go.
But-
you had to. If anyone was
took
going to
so
do it, it was
long,
going to be
man.
you.
I'm like chewing on my tongue, trying not to swear. This is pretty good for me, actually.
It is good, but you got to wrap it up. We're going to move on to our next caller.
All right. Thanks a lot for having me on, guys. Keep fighting the good fight. Remember, it's much too early to be losing hope right now. This is the time where we have to come together as a community, and we have to broaden our community as much as possible because I mean, we're down to the
Absolutely.
line. Right? We're down to the line.
Yep.
Let those parties know that they made a mistake.
Yep.
That's right.
Amen. All right. Thanks, Jeremy. We'll see you soon.
Yeah, man. See you later, guys.
Bye.
Okay. Travis or Bone?
Bone.
All right. Let's.
He thinks I'm going to hang up on him. I hung up on Captain Andy today. There he is.
There he is.
Dick Bone, welcome back, buddy.
Hi.
Hola.
How
So
are you?
quickly, Richard, bring us up to speed on this announcement that Rod just made.
Well, on the CCFR closed page, basically just a call out on Wake Up Canada, because it's not just going to be this and that. It's going to be a 2-year implementation, apparently,
Mm-hmm.
and your 1022s, all of it. And they won't stop there, as we've seen down New Zealand and that they're attacking. So
Yeah.
really is. So it's going to get nasty. It's going to get dirty, and it's going to get ugly real fast. And
Well-
you caught me without my teeth in. What the hell?
This is the nature of
live
this
call-in
call-in show.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, that sounds good. So I guess you said that was on a closed page, so we'll have to wait for Rod to put a video up on the main CCFR page. But yeah,
So
definitely.
we can share it.
If any of our listeners aren't members of the CCFR, become members. You should have become a member last year, so we could have put some pressure on. And I don't know if Rod was talking about it, but one of the other things you might want to consider is emailing your Liberal federal candidate and just saying, hey, this thing came out. I can't possibly vote for you guys because you're going to do this. So you lost my vote. And
Not only email and call, get involved. Go out there and help them door knock. Go out there, help distribute their lawn signs. Whatever you can do to help your local candidate. Hopefully it's CPC. Get out there and do it. It doesn't hurt to help.
No, absolutely, and it's free. All right, thanks, Richard. We're gonna go on to the next guy. Appreciate your time.
Cheers.
All right, next we got Travis Lee coming on. Travis wants to talk about possibly. Well, he disagreed with the point that I made, so I want to hear his side of it.
Okay.
So I think it was Travis. It's someone's coming in pretty fast. If it's not, we'll hear what he has to say. But
Trevor,
I had
IPSC will still be around if you do this. It won't be nearly
As
to the
prolific.
strength. 3-gun's toast. If this happens,
Yeah.
3-gun is toast because you can't do 3-gun with another rifle. It's 2-gun, I guess.
Two again?
right,
Yeah.
and I mean,
Pump
I
action
always-
shotgun.
yes, that's where we would go.
Bolt-action
I would
rifle?
just start putting on
PRS matches.
IPSC shotgun matches.
Oh,
Oh.
okay.
So I'm gonna try Travis Lee here again. Bring him up.
IPSC shotgun.
Well, the nationals are going on right now in Ontario.
PRS. Yeah. Oh, I got a couple of 3-gun buddies out there, and they are kicking some butt.
Are they?
Yeah, my buddy Kyle, he was on the show a couple weeks ago. They're not done the whole thing. They were posting some interim results, and I look at the results, and some of them are really good.
Half gun. That's funny. Okay, I don't know what happened to Travis. I'm gonna try him again.
.5 gun. That's one of the suggestions. We won't have 3-gun anymore. Now we'll have .5 gun.
Thanks.
There'll be a stage where
Added.
you do some bolt action and a pump action shotgun, and then you have to use a bow and arrow. That's
So,
It says that Travis is added,
okay.
but I don't
You don't see
see
him?
or hear him. No.
Mark McLean wanted to know if they had said anything about more secure storage. No, they haven't.
well, they
They
said
that they're
something
gonna-
about
they're-
secure
they-
storage, but not. It didn't say central.
Central.
Yeah.
They said they're going to implement new storage regulations. They didn't say what exactly that meant. And then
Central
yeah.
storage is the most not thought out idea
Ever?
of all of the ideas. Yeah.
I was
Yeah,
arguing
keep
with
them at the range.
someone on
They
Reddit
obviously
about
don't know
that.
what-
They're saying, yeah, why don't you you don't need them at home. If all you do with your handgun is use it at the range, why don't you just leave it at the range? I'm like, well, practically that's not something that you can do.
right.
Yeah,
It's-
you're not
you-
leaving guns. You want guns to be stolen from law-abiding gun owners? Store them at gun ranges. That's ridiculous. Gun ranges are not, by nature, secure facilities.
They're in the middle of nowhere.
Nowhere.
And what's a criminal got to do? Steal a front end loader, drive it into the secure storage, and scoop up like 100 guns and drive away. That's all they need to do. And
Yep.
It's a terrible
Yeah, it's the
idea.
stupidest thing ever. I mean, that's why they target gun stores sometimes. Well, because it's basically central storage, one-stop shopping.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay. Well,
Mm.
what do you guys think? We don't have anybody
Anybody
else
else?
lining up to come on. If you're listening live and would like to come on and tell us what you think, speak up and we will add you. Mark
Will-
McLean, if you have corn, you may come on.
Is Mark the guy with the corn?
No.
I believe this isn't
different
Mark
Mark.
with the corn. Different
No,
Mark.
Different Mark.
Well, I mean this
Okay,
Mark.
Mark McLean is talking about central storage. We expect corn next time.
Oh, I know who this Mark is. Wrong Mark.
Okay.
Yeah, my bad.
Yeah, it is. So Armored John, it is home storage. I'm just pulling it up now again. Strengthening safe storage laws is what it's exactly it is.
So yeah, it's
So
not
something-
specific. Yeah.
Okay, so for example, in a gun safe, nothing needs to be trigger locked. In a gun case, restricteds need to be. The case need only be locked for non-restricted. Maybe they're just going to require double for everything. All cases locked, all and everything trigger locked, regardless of it's in a safe. What else can they really do? Like somebody said today, there's only so many locks I can put on this thing, but there is that instance where I can store the ammo with the gun, provided the gun is locked and the case is locked. Maybe that will go away. Maybe federal transportation non-restricted says it just needs to be unloaded. Maybe they'll change that. Because storage and transportation go hand in hand. There's a couple of things they could ding us on. They could make it that we have to lock up our ammunition while at home, which currently we don't have to, right? Australia is already there.
Has to
Your
be
ammo has to be.
separate, though, right? Has to be separate.
What's that?
Your ammunition.
In Canada?
You have a safe or a...
Yeah, stored separately unless things are locked up. And it doesn't have to be stored separately. And it can be stored with the gun in the safe. So even though, Adriel, I've got the gun safe, the ammo that I have in my gun room is in a gun safe.
Mm-hmm.
So when I leave, the ammunition is locked up in there. So if someone does enter into this room, there's guns, the restricteds have locks on them, and there's ammo, but it's in a gun safe. So
Like your shirt.
thanks. It's got a gun on it.
She was talking to me.
No.
Now,
No?
well, I like your shirt too.
It looks like it's got chicken grease on it. I just took it out of a drawer. Look like I'm wearing a greasy
Disgusting.
wife beater. What the hell? Look at it. See the spots? Maybe
Were
it's
you eating
Palo-Sal.
chicken?
I wasn't. Well, I was, but not while wearing this.
Chicken. My wings are waiting for me. Chicken.
Mm,
It's fine.
Mark McLean says, "What is that?" If he's talking, well, if it was the gun you saw, it was my 10 Foglia Witness 1911. If it's the shirt, it's the ATRS Modern Sporter.
Yeah. With the Typhoon F12 hat.
Right? Oh, sorry, this is the Modern Hunter. It says so right there on my boobie. Modern Hunter.
you're not going to be able to keep that either. What's the value? What's the value of guns that the government's going to have to buy back from you?
I think they're just going to say we're giving you this or we're taking it.
Yeah.
I mean,
They said fair market value.
Oh, stop it.
right?
Stop
Can
it.
you imagine?
Fair market value. No, they're going to give it. Here's $20.
If
Or
they
you get
gave me
nothing.
fair market value, I'd buy a speedboat when I'm done. That would be my new hobby. Just kidding. Sailboat.
Yeah, why don't we call it there? And I guess if
All
we have
right.
any, if anyone has any other comments or any other thoughts, feel free send us an email, slamfireradio@gmail.com, and we'll either share it on the page or we'll talk about it next week.
And we'll talk about it next week, yeah. I did notice that on the CCFR page, the video that Rod did, that's available now on a shareable page, so we'll throw it over to our page as well. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night, Kelly.
I was waiting for that.
You're welcome.
All right. Bye.